I posted my initial thoughts on this series and was met with several replies that immediately dismissed the series as not being horror. It gave me flashbacks to how I dismissed a film like Bulbul as barely bringing chills to my spine because I judged it within the confines of the rules that should be followed by horror films. A tone deaf and ignorant approach, as one can't even fathom that for women, the realm of spirits, ghosts, urban legends is makhan. You know what's really scary? Real life. I'm an absolute sucker for the horror genre, and as a 90s kid, I was spoiled for choice growing up watching Hindi films and TV serials. Many people would know that especially if they were regularly watching the movies in the early to mid 2000s, there was almost a renaissance of sorts of the horror genre that was not bastardized today through the integration of comedy. I had an evolution of watching TV serials like Z Horror Show and Ahat on television, and also had the opportunity to experience movies in theaters like Raz, Bhoot, Darna Mana Hai and 13B. Great, creepy, and disturbing storylines that really brought a pre-teen Anmol nightmares. After watching Chori 2 last weekend, I actually wanted to do a video talking about the downfall we have had as an industry while essentially abandoning this genre for the most part. Yes, we have exceptional tales like Bulbul and Tumbad that have surprised us all in recent years, but these stories have been few and far between. This is actually an odd abandonment that has happened by the industry, because if you were to see Hollywood projects in the genre, horror and gore is actually one of the most cost-effective genres. Stories that can be done in exceptionally cheaper budgets that don't entirely have to rely on stars and IPs and have a huge patronage in theaters. There is such an appetite for horror in India itself that I can't count on my fingers the number of random horror films I have stepped in the theater for in Delhi, and it's a packed theater. And trust me, I have gone for some terrible films. I got bummed out watching Chori 2 because the tale of Lapa Chupi being recreated in Hindi was novel but turned into this maze-running gameplay of Slenderman in its sequel and a comical vengeance-filled action film in its climax that strayed away from what the core of the film and the franchise stood for, in my opinion. While I was in this mood, ready to diss how creators are ruining such great concepts on paper, I on the whim saw the new Prime Video series Khauf, written and created by Smita Singh, and it regained my confidence, gave me so much hope and motivated me so much that I had to share what I thought with all of you. Khauf is a worthy and exceptional entrant in the horror genre that focuses on Madhu, played by Monica Panwar, who comes to Delhi from Gwalior for new professional opportunities. While it's employment that pulls her towards the national capital, Madhu does not want to look back at her hometown and what she left behind. She finds a place in a girls' hostel, secluded from the city, but something that monetarily makes sense. And what follows is mysterious events that alter her life forever, all linked to what transpired with the girl that previously stayed in room 333. The tale of spirits, the hostel environment, the universal experience of women in not only Delhi but any part of this country, and how one curtails the realm beyond the unknown forms the basic premise of Khauf. This is a series that deserves a spoiler-free discussion beforehand just so that I can motivate you to watch it. But for those who have, I'm going to dedicate the last portion of the video to the spoiler-filled discussion, so do stay tuned for that. And if you want to chime in on that, do introduce your comment with a spoiler warning. Let's slightly be mindful of the same. So here's me telling you the good and bad aspects of the series so that you guys can ultimately decide whether to watch Khauf on Prime Video or not. The underwhelming aspects. Consistency with lore and loopholes. The series does an absolutely exceptional job in creating parallels with the realm of ghosts and souls that linger between the space of heaven and hell and real life. In many ways, I saw the same allegory in a film like Sinners, which is something that I experienced yesterday on IMAX. Even though the storyline is of vampires attacking a black-owned establishment, many elements of the film act as an allegory of the black experience in the political and social environment of today. Similarly, many themes that include the existence of the hostel, a lingering spirit, or several of the characters in the film, more than the plot itself, it acts as an allegory to what is consistent as the universal experience of women in society today. Allegory manje a story, poem, or picture that can be interpreted to reveal a hidden meaning, and Khauf is filled with that. However, if there is one criticism that I really level against Khauf, is that its lore and its rules are slightly vague. You as a viewer shuffle between wondering which ghost is in possession of any body, what is their motive, and whether the body is mindful of what he or she is doing while possessed by the spirit. Every character in the series has an ulterior motive, and this, coupled with the aspect of disturbed spirits, extracts two visceral feelings of fear and of vengeance, making the spirit act out. The issue is that through many of the episodes, it gets slightly confusing on who is making these decisions, and it can become slightly frustrating as well, because I was making charts and links through most of the story versus being sure of one's motivation. This in a movie like Sinners, and I bring this up because it attempts allegory in a similar way with the soft commercial packaging of a vampire film, is that it sets the rules of the lore of vampires perfectly, so much so that there is no room for confusion. In Khauf, there are concepts such as witches, pure angels, a longer life alluding to immortality, possession, and purely from a lore perspective, it may have the ability for you to easily point out its loopholes. The good, the team behind this. There is a certainty that you are in for a ride or an absolute banger when you read certain names associated with the project. And I knew when I was going to watch this series that it, at least from a technical standpoint, is going to be a home run. Pankaj Kumar has directed 6 episodes, while Surya Balakrishnan has directed 2. Pankaj Kumar is a cinematographer who has worked on projects like Tumbad and Brahmastra and has collaborated with Rajan DK for Farzi and Guns and Gulabs. This is a man who knows how to create an atmosphere, and I can't tell you on how accurate this series is in truly making you feel like you are on the streets of Delhi. And this is made convincing furthermore by production designer Nitin Zihani Chaudhary, the same man responsible for Tumbad and Kalki. The frames of Khauf are representative of dread. There is consistent filth in the frames as one walks through the streets of Old Delhi or even the narrow lanes of Hoskas village. There is this lingering dread that is consistent in all of the frames of the series. The tale brilliantly showcases the clear segregation within the city as well of the rich and opulent in their chauffeur-driven cars and those who sweat, toil and struggle through public transport. The most beautiful part of the series is that the visual grammar it utilizes in order to denote the realm beyond mortals. This is expressed through several of the dreams that Madhu experiences, and what is my favorite is to see the manifestation of a spirit fully taking over a body. Some of the visual grammar of this series in order to denote several horror themes is truly masterful. Effective writing and the universal experience. I, as a man, often dismiss the trope of men written by women or anything that segregates the sexes with the assumed notion that purely based on that, there is a natural sensitivity with which gender roles are portrayed. But I must say, what is consistent with when I have seen creators write a horror film with a social theme, say like Bulbul, is that women just get it. This is not an integration of a social theme within the horror genre that forces its message down your throat with a generic and rousing speech to influence you. It's the lived experience that is so horrifying that mere existence itself is the horror. The cinematography from the onset showcases to you the experience, the male gaze women get accustomed to in a city like Delhi, even in pitch darkness, having the fear of being ogled at or egregiously stared at, or even worse, approached. In a city so vast, there is little room to be free, as judgment presides everywhere. For any girl in your life that you may have spoken to, they will at least have one horrifying tale to tell you of harassment that they have endured, and this series showcases the death of the spirit of the Indian woman heartbreakingly, that has become desensitized to the microaggressions and abuse they see around them, assuming it to be the law of the land. The same woman who comes starry-eyed to the city full of dreams becomes a shell of her former self. The same woman who could breathe and be free initially feels claustrophobic in the same city. This toughened exterior that they have had to develop is merely for getting by on a day-to-day basis. This is something that I found so horrifyingly captured in a scene where Madhu during a job interview states, "I want to be free," only to be met with confusion as to what that means by a man. The writing of manipulation and gaslighting is bound to trigger viewers. Women always hope in their life that they can identify what they can acknowledge as their safe space and the pure horror that consumes them when that is even snatched away from them. Nothing is more horrifying also than performative allies who turn out to be misogynists. That lived experience is also consistent for many. A sequence of Madhu traveling through public transport and finally reaching back to her hostel will bring pure disgust and chills down your spine. I know this show has been triggering for many women, and so that I can avoid a gender war in the comments that absolutely miss the point of the series, I would urge women who are watching this video, subscribers of this channel, if they are comfortable, to express the accuracy of this universal experience in the city. Because it's important one knows that it is not even at the slightest bit exaggerated. The cast. You remember how a few months ago we were talking about how there is ample talent across the states of this country and how everyone is just waiting for that right opportunity? This is a prime example of the same. Even though Prime Video has that X-ray tab feature that allows you to know about the actors, this feature has not been consistent for this show and the talent available. I hope they rectify the same because the entire cast of this series deserves all the hype. I want to name the girls especially because one should know about them. Rashmi Maan as the righteous yet hesitant Nikki, Riya Shukla as the fiery Komal lent brilliant support to the hostel group. Chum Darang as Svetlana is such a confident actor. Having featured in such an underrated and confident debut in Badhai Do, she leaves no stone unturned in this series. A loyal friend willing to fight tooth and nail for what's right. Chum balances the vulnerability and the tough exterior with such ease, it only makes me assume she has such an exceptional future ahead. Ashima Vardhan as Anu leaves a solid impression in her limited screen time. The veteran actors like Gitanjali Kulkarni playing a cop and Shalini Vats as the warden just ooze confidence. I literally cannot fault any of the performances. While editing the video, I realized that I forgot talking about Priyanka Setia. She is exceptional in this series. She plays a woman who is pregnant and of a slightly older demographic, bound by the shackles of her own family, and I can't forget that one scene where she is celebrating New Year's with her hostel mates and she can't help herself but be consumed by guilt for how little she is doing for her own children. And it's just representative of a actor who just knows her craft so well. So that's one actor. I just couldn't resist talking about her as well. The men, a legend like Rajat Kapoor with his baritone delivery and eerie establishment in Old Delhi, becomes the perfect conduit to understand the mysterious happenings within the hostel. You have Gagan Arora and Abhishek Chauhan, both solid performances and lending great support to the ensemble cast. Satyam Sharma, however, is a standout among many, genuinely bringing chills down my spine in his riveting performance as Jiva. If, however, there is one actor who really showcased an insane range and depth in her performance, it has to be Monica Panwar as Madhu. I was anyway impressed by her ability in a series like Jamtada, but Monica brings such aching conviction to this complex role, I could not help but be in awe of how brilliant she was. She is burdened by so much misery, so much trauma, you always see her overwhelmed with the rush of feelings, almost at the point of completely breaking down. In one scene, when wanting to describe what transpired the night before to her partner, she oscillates between pragmatism, hesitance, and just helplessly breaking down with such conviction that it made me clap and acknowledge that this is the talent we all need to hype up. Khauf, despite its roadblocks regarding the loopholes it has with its confusing lore, is a disturbing tale of a universal experience I may never fully grasp, of the consistent fear that is inbuilt in women's subconscious, also reminding me of what the OG revolution of streaming in India stood for just a few years ago. Compelling and hard-hitting storytelling that boasted of exceptional talent. I hope you are convinced enough to watch this series because such storytelling is hard to come by. If you haven't seen the series already, I would urge you to click away now because now will be the spoiler talk segment of the series. I really thought that the representation of the hostel and the spell on the women, making them unable to step out of its premises, was so reflective of the universal experience of what women are told and experience on a daily basis. The eerie establishment almost took the shape of the patriarchy that holds the women in shackles, and whenever the women decide to fight back or resist against such regressive systems, it is immediately met with eavesdropping, harassment, violence, or a threat to their lives. I felt like the confusion only existed in the series regarding the possession of the spirits, because on one hand you assume that Madhu is acting out as Jiva's spirit taking revenge against the hostel girls, but in one instance a possessed Madhu also takes revenge against her perpetrators. So one wonders whether Jiva has an empathetic lens to make sure Madhu also gets her personal revenge, or it's just a spirit in rage. This is the aspect that confused me. Was Jiva always in control, or would it oscillate between the subconscious of Madhu and back to Jiva being in total control? One would like to assume that Jiva's spirit died with the Hakim being beheaded, but in the last scene we see Madhu stare at the camera, almost in control of whatever possessed her. She speaks about taking control despite all the venom that was fed to her, probably alluding that the spirit of Jiva may remain, but this time Madhu is in control. I think what brought Jiva power was the helpless nature of his victims. What really made him so powerful was feeding off of the fear they possessed. As Madhu becomes absolutely fearless in the end, it's almost as if Jiva has no purpose. Another allegory to what makes abusers and misogynists thrive: fear. I think the cliffhanger serves the purpose if Khauf ever wants to be renewed for a second season, but irrespective of that ever happening, I would urge all of you to really give this a chance. And that was a video, guys. Write down in the comments below what you thought about Khauf, the series. Please don't forget to follow me on Instagram. The handle's right in front of you. Follow me at JammyPants4. Also, please support us by smashing the like button and subscribing to our channel for weekly content ahead. Thank you for watching.